Hi, I'm Melissa at last, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my garden, Rose Ether Cherubim. So today we are focusing on resting in God's peace. That rest and recovery is just as important as the effort that you are putting forth. There are going to be times that God calls you to rest. Even when God was creating everything in the beginning, He rested. It's important. So if our God is resting, then we need to too. We need to as well. And even there's a verse in Ecclesiastes that talks about, staying up late and waking up, super early in the morning and just pushing yourself to like act like you don't need rest and not taking care of yourself in that way is a vanity. So Ecclesiastes is a really good place to understand when we're doing too much. When we just spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally are doing too much. When we're doing things outside of God's will and the strength that God has given us, thinking that we can take it all on. And no, we need to rest. And we need to rest inside God's peace. So the course, I brought up Ecclesiastes, the corresponding verse. I'm gonna get it together, guys, I promise. So the corresponding verse is Matthew, and we are in chapter 11, verse 28, but actually I'm gonna go up to 27, and we're gonna go all the way to 30. So Matthew chapter 11, verse 27 through 30. And I really like Matthew's account of things. Matthew, the way I see it with Matthew and with Luke, they give a testimony in a way of like they're preparing for court. And I see a lot of the disciples' regret in some of the passages of how they didn't stand up for Jesus and how they weren't present when he was taken to court. So when I look at Matthew and when I look at Luke, the way that they wrote everything was almost as if they were giving their account to the court. And I see the sadness in it, and I see where they understood they should have stood up, when they arrested Christ versus running away. And you see it and you gather it from their writing. But today we are fully in red words. So 27, this is Christ speaking. All things are delivered unto me of the Father, and no man knoweth the Son but the Father, and neither knoweth any man the Father save the Son, and he to whomsoever the Son will reveal him. And he to whomsoever the Son will reveal him. 28. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. 29. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. And 30. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And ultimately, that's what it means to rest in God. To know that we're learning Him and we're trusting Him, and anything that we face is going to be easily handled. Whether we feel it's easy or not, ultimately, because God is with us and God does all these great things for us and has already a map and a path planned out for our life, that makes our burden easy. That makes, our burden light and our yoke easy. Where it's like, if we really felt and we're facing everything in this world, from planning our life to, trying to find the right person, to trying to find our family, and we're doing all of that on our own, that can be overwhelming. And that can be where a lot of people lose hope, lose faith and lose the enjoyment of living life, versus you're trusting God to bring you to all these great things. I mean, you just have to trust the Father, and you just have to flow with His energy, and you just have to be led by the Spirit when you're facing, hard things, anything from battling spirits, of things like depression, anxiety, stuff like that, demons to, hardships to people to financial things. All we have to do is go to God. All we have to do is remember the steps of Christ. And it's not so hard. And because we're not alone. And we have, this great thing that moves for us spiritually, and that hones in on us and protects us and understands, our wants. We have this, and when I say thing, I guess I'm trying to find the word for, God and Christ and the angels and all the great spirits, of mercy, patience, truth, this great conglomerate that accompanies us. And it's not something, to be taken in a way where, we're truly covered. We're truly covered in everything that we do and in everything that we are. God knows, what we want, the desires of our heart. He knows also what is best for us. And he knits it and formulates it in a way where we have this great fulfilling life. And anything that we face, we just take it to him. And either he handles it for us, shows us how to handle it, teaches us through it. It's always something that benefits us, even when the untrained eye tries to tell us that it's not. We know that our eyes aren't trained in the way that God's are. So we don't rely on that, and we rely on the faith of, our Father's going to come through for us. He's going to ride for us. He is going to comfort us. He's going to get us through this time where, even you face things like, you're a heartbreak. Back when you were a teenager, that was the worst thing in the world. You're sliding down the shower wall crying, to your sad playlist and stuff. But, as you grow older, if you face it, it's like, okay, it wasn't meant to be. I got to keep moving, because I don't want my way blocked forward by holding on to something that's not supposed to be part of my path. And I don't want to block it for that person either. I want them to find their way and find what truly makes them happy and brings them to peace. And you grow because you have trust in God and what it is he's doing for you. And instead of being so upset and so, just falling to pieces, you find that rest in God. Whenever you feel upset, whenever you feel overwhelmed, you run back to God, and you bury your face in his chest, and you're just like, I'm tired of this. I need you right now. And I need to go away for a moment. I need to be in the shadow of your wings, because I'm just not, I'm feeling overwhelmed in this moment. I'm feeling emotional in this moment. And I need you, and I need to rest in you. And I need to close off, from the world and just be with you for a second. And, we have all of that, and we get to rely in that rest in God. So people avoid rest because we're taught that rest is sometimes synonymous with being lazy and not doing enough. And a lot of times, especially, young boys, they're taught if they're laying around, or they're, doing this or doing something that they enjoy, that it's wrong, that it's bad. Like, you need to get up, you need to be doing something, you need to be helping. And while yes, that's true, we do need to teach children to clean up after themselves and help with chores and all those things. Sometimes what the caretaker is taught is, again, from previous generations, is like, you always need to be doing something. You need to stay busy, busy work. And, it's kind of like, not always. And that mindset gets carried on to us spiritually, where we're not doing enough for God. We're not doing enough for other people. We're not doing enough, in our spiritual practices. And when we move from that mindset of not doing enough and not truly resting in the peace that God has given us, that creates a lack mindset. And it's something that can, if you let it grow, put space in between you and God's relationship. because you're always wondering and worrying and seeing what you need to do more. And sometimes God calls us to just be in his presence. And that will begin to change us in ways that doing a million and one things never will. So that's why we need to be sure that we are taking the time to rest in God's peace, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So when you stop avoiding that rest and you stop trying to fill your day with all these little things or fill the silence with all these words, and you learn to just be, that's when like the messages from God comes through, the lessons, the aha moments, the light bulb moments where it's like, now it makes sense. And that's why meditation is super important in incorporating in your spiritual practices, along with prayer, along with fasting, along with reading your word. All of those things are important, but meditation creates that sense of just being and trusting when peace comes upon you, that it's not just a silent moment before something else happens, or something bad happens, something's coming, it's too quiet. It helps to eliminate that mindset and know that God has prepared me for whatever's coming next, and I get to enjoy these peaceful moments. I get to enjoy this time with God, and anything that I'm facing is easy because I have God with me. And God is going to bring me peace and serenity in all of my seasons. So the scripture is going to continue to apply, and it's going to continue to bring you a sense of peace, as you go through things. Because what I like here is, come on to me, all that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. God knows when we're tired. God knows when we're pulling something heavy. God knows when we're going through something heavy, and he gives us these moments to be in peace and rest with him, to kind of just rest with our Father and recuperate and, feel better, ultimately feel renewed, feel, re-strengthened. But we have to take those moments, enjoy those moments, and not feel guilty because we're having those moments where we need that rest, we need that time, we need that peace with God. We need to be shut away to be able to come back again and enjoy that time with our Father, not feel guilty about it, not feel like we're not doing enough. And I like 29 too. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. So even though this is not the exact meaning, of take my yoke upon you, when I think about that, and we kind of think like, hey, we're Christ's sheep, we're God's sheep, and he's our shepherd. He knows how to lead us, he knows how to guide us, he knows when we need food, when we need rest, when we're not feeling well, and he knows how to take care of us because he cares about us. He's seen us, he formed us from tiny. And when you raise something like that from infancy and before infancy, from planning the pregnancy to moving forward, as the child, the sheep, the dog, whatever grows, you have this bond that it's just different. It is just different. And when I think about, take your yoke upon me, God's going, I'll give an example. I saw a guy walking his dog. He was walking a husky, and he was walking a husky to the end of the street, and he had him on a leash. So when I think of yoke, I think like a leash, He had him on a leash, and he walked him down the street, and then he wanted to turn around, but the husky was still walking forward. And so when the guy turned around, he never gave any implication to the dog that he was going to turn around. But when he turned around and the husky kept walking forward, he just yanked the dog, and the dog yanked around and then turned around and started walking the way that he walked. And I was like, that guy's a fucking asshole. Because when you're walking a dog and you want to change direction, you give a sign to the dog. You're walking the dog, and you start slowing down. So the dog that's walking with you, like it slows down as well. And then it looks to you to be led for the next thing. And you can give it like a shake or whatever. If you have experience in walking a dog, you give it a little shake and you pull it like a little bit in the direction of where we're going to turn around at. And this guy didn't do it. I was like, he's uneducated, or he doesn't know how, he's not in sync with his dog. His dog's not in sync with him. And when you're walking your dog, you have to think about where you're leading. Like, you have to have the visual in your mind, and the dog will pick up on that. And it's like, okay, we're slowing down. We're going to either turn left or right or go back or whatever. But you don't just yank the dog by the neck the way that guy did it. It pissed me off. But God being our ultimate shepherd, Christ being our ultimate shepherd, they know how to lead us. They know how to lead us without yanking our necks. And, they know how to give us signs and guidance so that we can pick up on it and then, be led in this way, and not jerked, not disrespected, not having our spirit disrespected, our autonomy. It's truly being led in a way that is gentle and great and thoughtful and with the utmost respect. So when you're being led by God in that way, knowing how much He cares for you, knowing how much respect, and knowing that He knows how to handle you in a way that gets you to listen, but doesn't, and again, I keep going back to respect, doesn't disrespect you, like that trust is there. So if He's leading you to rest, He's leading you to peace, He's leading you to that time with Him, it's that gentle nudging that brings you in and honors your spirit. So it's important to take that time and not avoid getting rest based on mindsets that ultimately are going to put distance in between you and God, because He wants that time. He wants to be able to watch over you while you're resting, while you're recouping and, recovering from the things that we go through in life. Sometimes we get a little beat up and we need to rest. We need our body to recharge. It's the same thing like with working out your physical body, running or, lifting weights and stuff like that. If you don't give yourself rest and recovery days, you open yourself up to injury. You open yourself up to, not having proper growth in the area that you're working out in, or in your ability, to run or, do cardio or dance or whatever it is your form of cardio. So that's why it's important, and that's why God leads us to rest, and that's why we can't avoid it. We can't, and nor should we, because it's that peaceful time that we get to rest under the shadow of God's wings, and we get to learn and be and grow. You get told a lot, sleep on it before you make a decision. Sleep on it, because when we sleep, where our spirit is, connecting to God in that time. So that's why you wake up like renewed, like kind of knowing what to do, or the pieces put together, because you spent that time with your Father. And when you can give it to God, not only through your sleep, but through certain times of your day that you carve out, you're going to have this better understanding. You're going to have wisdom flow through you. You're going to have easier decision making, because you're constantly bringing all the things to God and you're resting with Him. And you wake up renewed, renewed in your mind, spirit, and heart. As a woman, you have cycles in your life where you might need a little more rest, and times where you don't. And then you become a mom, and then you're going to need rest in all the areas, okay? You're going to need rest all the time so that you can be at your best. You can have the best attitude and the best mentality, while you're taking care of, little ones. and even if you work in a job where you work with people or you work with children, you have to be well rested, and so that you can always give your best to others and not move towards burnout, because it'll happen if you don't do that proper rest. And for me particularly, I'm beginning to see, I need to carve out that time where I'm resting and relaxing, where the mind isn't constantly going, where I'm just enjoying the moment. And particularly, I need to give my Sundays totally to God, because then the hecticness of my week doesn't become overwhelming, because I truly gave that whole day to God, and I rested and I chilled, and I don't have to be nowhere. I'm not taking invites to go anywhere. We ain't doing too much. We're just relaxing, and that is good, and that is okay, because we go hard during the week, and we put forth, our best effort during the week. Our best effort being showing up in the way that is honoring our spirit, our mind, our body, and our heart, and ultimately our God. So I can go hard during the week, rest on Sunday, and not feel guilty about it, not feel like, oh, I didn't get things done, and let it linger in my mind. Nope. That day is for God. And I'm not gonna do too much, and that is okay. And and I don't need to explain it to nobody, and nobody needs to understand. But God is happy with me, and that's all I need. And I get to show my little one that too. Like, Sunday we honor God, we talk about God, we might read a little bit, but we're just relaxing today, and that's okay. We don't need to go out every weekend. We don't need to do something, every day of the weekend. And that ultimately shows you how to formulate the rest of your week, when you're going to dedicate, that Sunday to God. It's like, okay, if I want to get this done, it's not going to creep into Sunday. It's either going to happen Monday through Saturday. It's going to have to wait till the following Monday. And that's okay. And that's how you begin to prioritize what it is you need to get done. And then you show God that He is priority, because He gets that full day where it's just you and Him, and you come with this new mindset, these new messages, these new things to focus on come Monday. And it can wait till Monday. It truly can. Nothing is priority over your God. And that was something important for me to understand. And I had to do this consistently. It brings the best out of me. If I'm not doing it in a consistent way, and I let these things creep in, it's disrespectful, and that's how I take it, and that's how I see it. And then I begin to feel more frustrated during the week, or for some reason it's easier to stress me out, or my emotionality is not as balanced as if I had given, that Sunday to God, because it's like, I need my Father, my spirit needs my Father to stay balanced, to stay in this great place, to feel unburdened. And that's essentially what it is. And that's how I release my burdens to God, because it's like, okay, I know that everything that I face, God is with me. That's a release of burden. That's something off my back. Okay, I'm not alone. Right? 1. 2, God always wants what's best for me. All right, that's something else off my back. It's like nothing that's truly out there trying to get me is going to harm me, because I love my God, and I've given my life to God. So God is my center. His highest will is what I'm here to implement. So boom, another burden off my back. And 3, it's like, okay, anything that I go through, good or bad, I'm gaining lessons and gifts and blessings off of this. So nothing that I go through is not for a reason. So anything I go through is for a reason. There's something that's going to come out of it, and it's going to be positive, and ultimately it's going to benefit me and the people I love, whether it's through wisdom and knowledge, or a blessing and gaining something. Whatever it is, it's worth it, and it's for a reason. So boom, that's another burden off my back, where like, this is not unnecessary. I'm not going through unnecessary stress and trials, because I'm moving on the path that God directed me. So it's it's part of the plot, it's part of the book, it's what's making life interesting, good or bad. So I'm not lost. I'm not putting myself through unnecessary situations and unnecessary risk. This is all something that I know I'm protected, and I know it's for a reason, and I know it's going to be worth it. So all of those things take the burden off of when you go through things, because it's like, all right, we'll just do this. So That's how you release your burdens to God, like trusting in those three aspects. And then everything else, you just tell Him and you just talk to Him about it. So as soon as I go through something that is even mildly irritating, I'm talking to God about it. I'm like, God, did you see that? Like, well, why did that happen? That was so fucking rude, and he begins to calm me down, because it's like, okay, let's not react. It's not necessary to even react or even to show it on your face right now. Just breathe it out, and just let it go on by. So it also, releasing your burdens teaches you to flow in the moment and not be reactive to your environment. So that's something else that you gain from giving your burdens to God, to telling God even about the slightest inconvenience, and not complaining, but just being like, I don't like that. I did not like that, God. Like, and then you begin to have that conversation where it's like, well, it happened for this reason, or just relax, let it flow through. You get to kind of be able to move through that moment right away with God. And that's the best thing to do. So continue to do that consistently, and you're going to be happier. You're going to be more at peace. You're going to be less stressed out, and you're going to not, again, be reactive to your environment, to other people, to other energies, other spirits, negative or positive. Like, we can't be flattered by greatly positive things, and we can't have our spirit, our countenance, down, or weary because of, negative things that we experience. So it helps really keep our scales balanced if we do this consistently. So the gratitude practice for today is to find 3 things in life, 3, to express gratitude for. So do this in the morning, AM, and do it in the evening, PM. So before bed, thank God for 3 things that made you feel good, that you were happy about, that created the feeling of gratitude. And again, it doesn't always have to be positive. It doesn't always have to be negative. It could just be small things that you enjoyed, anything from the sunset, or seeing a bird, or a smile on somebody's face. Whatever it is, you just express gratitude for it. Just thank God out loud for it. Do it in the morning. It's wonderful to do it right when you wake up, and then right before you go to bed. So that's the gratitude practice for today. And then our prayers are going to be centered around thanking God for the gift of rest. Thank you, God, for rest. It could be something simple, like you sit on the couch and your body feels relief, and it's like, oh, thank you, God. I feel relief. I feel rest. Then ask Him to help you release stress and find peace in His presence. So along with thanking Him for the rest, we're going to be asking Him to release stress from our lives, even things that we're not aware of. That's always important, because sometimes we're not aware that things stress us out. And to continue to find peace in His presence, or if we're still figuring that out, show me how to find peace in your presence. Allow me to be open to finding peace in your presence. You can word it how it feels right for your spirit. All right, friend, get some rest. Devote some time for you and God, and learn to rest without feeling guilty about it, because you don't need to. You deserve rest. You deserve to find rest in God's peace, and that's ultimately where you are going to find it. All right? Get some rest, friend. I love you. I love you, but more importantly, God loves you more. See you next time.